Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Up until now, there have been 3 ciphers on the Giant that have remained unsolved ever since we originally found them when Black Ops 3 came out. Today, that's all gonna change. Thank goodness we have finally cracked one. I want to give a big shout out to the cracker of this particular cipher. He's called Monkey. He sent me a Reddit message and was like, Milo, I know that you are the go-to guy for these sorts of things, and so boom, here's the solution. Let's get exploring what it could mean. So what I'm going to be talking about today is the cipher that begins with NMFU3, that one. But first of all, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on what it actually is. Very brief. So during World War II, Nazi Germany used various different types of cipher to try and spread information across their ranks while not allowing it to fall into enemy hands and give away their plans. The most famous of those ciphers, probably I'd say, for World War II specifically, would be the Enigma cipher, and the Enigma machine rather. However, there was plenty more that got used. It wasn't just Enigma by any means, and one of the types of machine that the German army used to encipher their messages was the Lorence machine. It had 12 wheels, it was hella complicated, it took Bletchley Park themselves to actually crack the damn thing, and ended up being massively valuable for the Allied powers during the war because they could use so much of the info in those messages from high-ranking officials and officers in the Nazis' military force, and they exploited them to great effect. However, I'm not going to be going into too much depth about how specifically the cipher works in this video because I think I'll save that for another time when I have a blackboard available and I can properly work through everything that's going on. For now, let's just take a look at the message that Monkey has magically brought to our attention. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited about this. Without further ado, here is the plain text of the NMFU3 Lorence cipher on the Giant. When finished, we will return to the house and the infinite. That's it. That's the whole message. This entire time, we have been absolutely slaving away, trying to figure out these 3 ciphers on the Giant that we have remaining that have been unsolved thus far. We get one of them, and it's just a couple of words long. Not even a proper sentence, really. It's just, when finished, we will return to the house and the infinite. Now then, at face value, this might seem like a bit of a disappointment, right? Some people might say, oh, I was expecting this to be a much longer message, or, oh, I thought that this would be much more interesting. We've had other ciphers on that map talking about potential future DLC, and so what's the deal with this one? But I think that this is possibly one of the most interesting ciphers we've actually had so far in Black Ops 3. And the reason for it is as follows. This, quite possibly, could be telling us exactly what's going to be happening in DLC4. That's right. In the Shadows of Evil Secret Scrap, we had locations for Dariz, or the Giant. We also had Griffin Castle listed on there. We also had Zetsubo-no-Shima listed on there. We've also got Stalingrad, which is looking like DLC3. And then we have no more coordinates on that scrap of paper telling us where DLC4 might take place. We know from the end cutscene of Zetsubo-no-Shima that just before they travel on to Stalingrad, Richtofen and the crew go to some other mystery location and essentially set up this insurance policy using those blood vials. They attain those blood vials from some mystery place and carry them with them for the rest of the duration of that map, Zetsubo, and then most likely will also take them with them through DLC3, Stalingrad, and onwards to whatever lies beyond. But what lies beyond, thus far, has been completely shrouded in mystery. Completely, 100%. We can make guesses about the fact that maybe we'll be fighting a great battle, for example. Maybe this whole idea of Primus being these ancient beings who are doomed to fail according to the Shadows of Evil cipher, and yet at the same time they are clearly waging this great war against seemingly the Apothicons and plenty of other stuff as well in the Shadows of Evil mural. There's loads of stuff going on there, and so a great battle after which they stand upon the mound and a light shines down and cleanses all those around them for miles and miles. All these things, right, have been building up to this big picture that we're probably going to be fighting some kind of great battle in DLC4. And if not, it's certainly going to be heavily, heavily referenced. But this particular cipher seems to be a definitive statement saying, when finished, okay, so once Richtofen has exacted his plan, once Richtofen has said, okay, we've got Takio's soul, we've got Dempsey's soul, we've got Nikolai's soul, and we already got my soul in the Giant, now that we've finished, we will return to the house and the infinite. I want to take a moment real quick to just justify my excitement for why going to this house might be cool, right? Throughout Black Ops 3, there have been hints and teases towards this house being specifically very significant in Samantha Maxis' story arc, in the arc of Maxis himself as well, and also of the young Eddie. In fact, we can go all the way back to the Origins cutscene, and we see the house there, we see the house referenced in the Giant, we see it referenced actually throughout all of the maps in Black Ops 3, and now, finally, we might be getting some reason as to why the hell it exists, okay? We've got all of the really interesting radios in Zetsubou, and they talk about the fact that Maxis is in the house, and then he hears a knock on the door, and someone has come to the house, and there's all this crazy stuff going on that right now we just don't understand, but this particular cipher, this one cipher from the Giant, telling us that we're returning to the house, gives us so much information. It tells us, for example, that we've actually been to the house before. The wording is, when finished, we will return to the house. They're not saying we will travel to the house, they're saying that they're going to go back. So clearly, even if it's just Edward Richterson, he's been to this house before, which is interesting in itself. People have been saying, oh, the Chronorium might be the house. I don't think that that's necessarily the case, but it's certainly possible. It would be a weird sort of diversion from what we expect, but who knows at this point, because the Chronorium is still a big mystery, sort of, somewhat. Kronos and Anenki, there's all that sort of stuff going on there, but anyway, I digress. This whole idea of returning to the house is fascinating because the house has been entrenched in so much of the storyline that has been built up in Black Ops 3, and we might finally be going to the damn thing and exploring that house and playing in that house. This could be a playable map inside the house itself and the surrounding whatever. I mean, we know it's on a rock, right? I've got my bloomin' t-shirts. Those shirts, that's the damn house as well! We've got the house absolutely everywhere right now, and we might finally be going to the damn thing and getting to explore it. That's not the end of the cipher though. Remember at the end it says the infinite. What could that possibly mean? What's the infinite? Well, this is another interesting point about this cipher. I think there's a possibility that this is not the end of the message. And by that, I mean, I think there is a fairly good chance that the other two ciphers on this map are actually continuations of this very same narrative that is displayed in this cipher. Potentially, it's going to go, when finished, we will return to the house and the infinite something, and then the sentence will run on and it will continue in one of the two other unsolved ciphers on the map. And if that's the case, that just makes me want to redouble my efforts to figure out those other ciphers, because one of them is pretty damn long, and as such, it's going to have some really juicy information in there. And if this is giving us information about the last DLC, about DLC4, it's completely fresh territory. It's completely uncharted waters, and that is one of the most exciting things, because in this story so far, we have had several themes that have been repeated time and time and time again. They keep going back to the idea that we need to collect these souls, and that there's going to be a Dempsey map, and then a Takio map, and then a Nikolai map. That's been so heavily repeated so many times. And at last, we just might finally be somewhat breaking free of that cycle and getting something new, getting something fresh, and getting something that potentially is going to relate to what will ultimately culminate in the end of this Zombies storyline. What do I mean by that? Well, I don't think the Zombies story is going to just magically disappear and that's going to be that. But Jason Blundell has specifically said in interviews that I have done with him that he's putting brackets around the story. He is stating that there is a beginning and that there is an end, and he is clasping those two opposite sides of the story together and wrapping them up nice and neatly in a little bundle for us to enjoy as the 2008 all the way through to 2016 Zombies storyline. And then, in the future with Black Ops 4, which won't be happening, don't worry, it'll be some other title by Treyarch in 3 years' time, they'll be able to somewhat start afresh, but there will be ideas that they have embedded in our minds from this game and from this story that we can draw upon in the future and continue our narrative, essentially, just in a slightly different light. Honestly, guys, I really do think this has got to be one of the most exciting ciphers we've seen so far. Just the simple idea that we could be getting DLC4 info here is crazy. It's mind-blowing. The fact that this has been in the game since launch, and we still haven't managed to get it until now, midway through DLC2, is pretty mind-blowing as well. Jason Blundell knows how to trick the community and make us think that we've got to go down one path, and then boom, it's just a simplified Lorence cipher. I mean, come on, man. Cheeky Monkey Blundell is at it again, and I can't wait to get those other ciphers cracked now and figure out what the hell they mean for the story. I mean, once we return to the house and the infinite what? The infinite universes? The infinite timelines? The infinite old-gen Richtofen? I don't know what it's going to be, but all I know is that I'm really excited to see where this goes in the future, and fingers crossed, you guys are as well. I'm so glad I could break this news for you and bring it to all of you because of Monkey's hard work. He's done a fantastic job here, and so, well, I've been MrRoflWaffles. Subscribe if you want more Cypher info, more story info, more zombies info, more everything. It's all coming on my channel in the coming days, weeks, and months. I can't wait to bring it all to you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh baby, this has been good. Bye-bye.